So I was looking. So the 6th of June 2021 was marked a 5-year anniversary of where you started this journey. So what happened 5 years ago on that day?
That's right. Yeah. 5 years. Yeah. So it was a very different life I lived back then. So, I mean, I'd sort of, I guess, going really far back. I mean, sort of puberty years and stuff. I mean, I found myself getting all these sort of thoughts of, I guess, sort of self-loathing, demotivation, and a lot of insecurity at school and stuff, and just something that I really kept to myself and just didn't really know what was going on. I guess through that change as you go into sort of adolescence as well as we do, and it was only later down the line that I really sort of started to discover that this was the start of clinical depression for me, really. And it was something, again, I didn't really speak to anyone about. I just kept very much to myself. I didn't speak to friends, family. But I was working at the time in a lot of hospitality areas. Again, I didn't do much cooking at the time. The cooking side is very sort of self-taught. But I did a lot of front of house. And heading sort of 18, I ended up working behind the bar. I guess this sort of brought in the introduction of alcohol to my life as well. And again, it's as is sort of the rite of passage, I guess, for many of us in this country, 18 sort of thing, going out on the weekend into the pubs, clubs and nightclubs and whatnot is generally just how we sort of do things. It seems to be British culture in a way, but for me, alcohol also had that feeling of an escape. It sort of almost silenced my thoughts in my own head. Gave me sort of, I guess, that sedation from these sort of self-loathing thoughts that I didn't have previously. And this kind of really began to snowball for me. And moving across to sort of university, this really sort of began to be sort of started to control my life.
So it's university, when you get there, it's all about going out and partying anyway, especially at the beginning.
Exactly. I mean, so it's quite hidden, I think, at first. And again, you do hide it under that sort of social illusion of just being, well, it's just, it's just what you do. You're just going out meeting people, that sort of way, and you meet people in the pubs and bars. So, again, I didn't really see it as an issue at the time, but after being there for about sort of 2 years and stuff, it really sort of took control most aspects of my life. I mean, I'd ballooned in weight. I'd got sort of over 22 stone by this point.
Wow. All through just that drinking cycle.
Yeah,
so you didn't used to be that big.
Not at all. No, not
right.
at all. I mean, I was never sort of completely slim at school sort of thing, but I was sort of carry a little bit, but that was mainly sort of big bones, I guess, rugby build. But
right, yeah.
But it was, ballooned in weight that sort of way. I'd taken up smoking sort of full time, and by sort of its height, I mean, I was over consuming of sort of 20 pints a day as well. I was really every single day. It was my lifestyle. Again, I was back working in pubs at this point as well. I was living in, so it really was sort of kid in a sweet shop, and really was just this escapism from getting away from my own thoughts. And this really continued all the way through. So at this point, I'm maybe about 20, and then it wasn't until the 6th of June 2016, so by that point I'm now 25. That really I came to terms with the fact that I've become an alcoholic.
So why that date? What happened on that date?
So that was the date really that it all came to a head.
You sort of had a bit of a breakdown kind of thing within yourself?
Yeah, I'd see it more as sort of a breakdown epiphany sort of moment. Yeah, I mean, I was in a serious relationship at the time. Again, I was living sort of two lives. There was the life sort of with her, and then of course there was the life where I was going out sort of.
She didn't really know.
No, not at all.
No.
No one really knew really. It was all quite hidden. Even sort of work colleagues, friends. I sort of went out of many different groups. I was quite sort of solitary in terms of how I'd go out about my business. I guess getting this sort of drinking alcohol quota, if you like, each day. But it was just a complete sole focus for me. It was the one thing I was aiming for every single day. And really, although there'd been moments of attempted intervention on small fronts, but not realising the full extent, it was only really on this moment where really it compromised me as a person that this relationship ended. And I came to terms with the fact I was an alcoholic.
So what did you decide on that day then?
It was very much
just to do something about it,
like a right sharp. I mean, initially, if I'm honest, it was completely to try and win her back. It was initially for that. It was. I vowed to sort of remove alcohol from my life.
I suppose with most things, that's our first step, is admitting to, not to anybody else, to yourself, that there's something not right, that you've got to do something about it.
100%, yeah. And again, you get a lot of people often reaching out and talking about this and asking maybe how they can help their friends and peers and, perhaps husband, boyfriend and all other genders. And it really has to come from yourself. I think it has to be something that...
They have to want to do something about it, don't they?
Yeah.
And you can't really do anything. You can't help them get to that point.
No, and I often think you do have to hit rock bottom before you come to terms with these sort of things, which is very unfortunate. And I do feel very lucky to sort of have that moment, because some people never have that in their whole lifetime. But it was initially from that day, and I vowed to remove the alcohol from my life, and really just try and prove that I wasn't this person that I'd become.
Were you smoking as well?
I was at the time, yes. I was full-time in that sort of way. I mean, completely lethargic lifestyle, as I say, very overweight by this point. No, don't exercise at all.
Doing all the bad things.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was I was just existing, really. I was just getting through each day, just completely just not making anything of myself, just I don't know, just getting to the end of each day and really to black out oblivion drinking.
Are you thinking there's got to be more to life than this?
Yeah, well, again, at the time, it was really, alcohol was brought into my life initially, and what I thought was helping me out. It felt almost medicinal, but by this point now, it was very clear it was my poison.
You were almost sort of dependent on it.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that's those sort of levels and that sort of consumption. I mean, it's high amounts, that sort of thing. And really, it's even getting up sort of before work, I'm drinking, at work drinking, sort of that way, straight after work, different sort of peers into the early hours of the night. So it was, it's a completely different life, but it was something that at that moment, again, initially to win her back, I had to sort of leave everything behind. No, that's sort of left in the past now. We didn't get back together, sort of thing. But over time, I realised that this sort of change was for me.
Yeah.
And for me, going forward in my life, and for those who around me, sort of family, friends who had stuck by me, she was very selfless during those sort of early days in terms of the support and stuff. But ultimately, again, it has to be for me this sort of journey. But
so when you reached this epiphany and decided that you need to do something about it, did you then open up to the people around you about it, or did you just get on with it yourself?
I did. Well, basically, I removed myself from the situation completely. So it was a complete polar right turn. I mean, I'm gone from sort of living in this city. I was in York at the time for about 7 years. Again, I had a job there that I had for sort of 4 or 5 years. And really, overnight, I've had to sort of quit the drink. I left my flat, I left my job, and I returned back to Cumbria, literally overnight. So I didn't say goodbye to anyone in the city. I had a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances in that place.
You probably worried that they were going to try and convince you to stay.
It was either that or I had some bar tabs open, one of the two.
Yeah.
But I came straight back, and I was very open initially about why I'd come back. So straight away on my personal sort of Facebook page, I put on there saying, look, I've left the city. This is why. I've come to terms with the fact I'm an alcoholic, and I've got to sort of seek help and try and get through this. And I could no longer be in that scenario, in that situation, and make this change.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going to be able to remain. I was managing pubs at the time, and sort of suddenly, become sober in that environment. I mean, it just... It would have been an impossible task.
You
I
have
think,
to
for
remove
me.
yourself completely, otherwise.
I felt so. Yeah, I felt so. I said to get better in that situation and to change things, I had to come back, and so I returned back to our roots into Carlisle initially.
Good stuff. So when you came back, then what did you do?
So again, this sort of I guess opening up to everybody that was, I guess, quite a surprise to a lot of people. Again, I mentioned from the very, very start, I kept this very secret in terms of the whole sort of mental illness side I had. The drinking side was maybe seen slightly on the outside to some people, but not the extent of it. Even those who spent most days with me, they wouldn't be there for the duration, so they'd just see a little snippet of that daily existence. And initially, I just threw myself into fitness. So again, I'd left the cigarettes behind, left the alcohol behind, and vowed to sort of make this healthier lifestyle. And just initially threw myself straight into it. So I was heading back to the gym straight away, just trying to find things really to replace that time. And alcohol had such a huge period of time in my daily sort of life.
Was it tough to make yourself do that? You're making it sound quite easy. Like, I just decided
not
to
at
do
all.
that.
Not at all. No.
I can imagine it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I don't mean to do that either. No, not at all. I mean, for the first 3 months, certainly it was
a slog.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can remember sort of the feelings of withdrawal. My head felt so heavy. You'd have cold sweats. And really, alcohol's not something you should really go cold turkey on.
Yeah, so alcohol and fags. Did you manage to stop them straight away as well?
Completely.
That's a double whammy.
Yeah. So that, and then trying to slim down the weight a bit as well. So it's
Did you start seeing results quite quickly with the weight?
I think, just removing the alcohols, that sort of levels that I was consuming, it was all pints I was drinking as well. I wasn't sort of someone who was in vodka, lime and soda, sort of low-calorie diet sort of thing.
Calorific, aren't they?
It was all, copious amounts of pints each day and then fall into the kebab shop, pizza house on the way back. So initially, that sort of big change, I guess, that's a huge surplus of calories lost initially.
Yeah.
And of course, that wasn't the reason behind it, but that was obviously a benefiting factor.
And then when you add in exercise...
Completely, yeah. And it's that basic equation, I guess, isn't it? Sort of calories in, calories out sort of thing. So again, I'd thrown this in. I took to the gym. I had a couple of mates who were turning on my doorstep straight away. So
I was going to say, did you have people sort of encouraging you?
It was brilliant, yeah. The support I received from sort of day one was really instrumental to this turnaround.
Did you come back and sort of reconnect with some old friends from when you were here?
Yeah, I've been lucky to have a lot of close friends through school and stuff throughout my life, but ones who really probably did during this period, maybe I clung on to them really as friends. I think there was moments where really I think they'd given me enough excuses, or maybe enough enough moments of maybe forgiveness and whatnot, and I was still in their lives somehow. So I do feel, again, that's another thing I'm very thankful for, the fact that these people didn't really turn their back on me. And even sort of family, you can hear this sort of thing through those ailments. And something like alcohol is very controlling. It's a very sort of dissolving substance in your life. It dissolves all things. Relationships, finances, the lot. And Yeah, so for them to come back and initially see this moment of awakening and come on my doorstep straight away and offer that support was truly humbling, really, and a real sort of encouragement going forward. So, I mean, a couple of early friends, I mean, sort of Andrew and Craig, sort of turned up my doorstep, sort of turned up with their bikes, went for a bike ride out there into the woods, walks into the around the tarn, sort of talking tarn, not too far from here. And then it wasn't until my best sort of mate Ryan turned up on my doorstep and said he was going to take me on a hike that I had no real idea what to sort of come for. Even growing up in this area, the hills are something I really neglected. It was the closest I came to the lakes was probably coffee and cake in Keswick, really. It was, yeah, he said he was going to take me on a hike, so I didn't know it was just going to be sort of, just a walk around the woods or walk sort of somewhere sort of quite lowland, and I just sort of dressed up in what I had to hand at the time, and I didn't really have a penny to my name at this point.
Jeans, was it?
Not quite jeans. It wasn't far off though. I mean, I think I had a pair of swim shorts to my name, sort of some jumper I'd wear in the pub, sort of I had from Next, and just these old bratty trainers. There was no grip on them whatsoever, and he took one look at me and said, "I can't take you out looking like that." So, but this was it. I'd just come back from this complete life change, and really, I mean, I had paid off my debts somewhere I was there. I was paying off all the credit cards and whatnot. I was in a huge overdraft. I paid for my flat fees, and I had nothing really to my name. I wasn't working at this point either, so I'd left my job. And on the way through to the lakes, we sort of drove through, and he pulled in at one of the sort of local outdoor stores and picked me up a pair of boots and took them to the counter and just bought me these boots and said, you're going to need these for the day. And it was moments like that. I mean, a show of support that really you just can't, you can't sort of appreciate enough. I think that sort of moment. And I mean, I said at this sort of point, I'm just completely in this haze of, both heartbreak and sort of alcohol withdrawal and sort of my pounding for sort of wanting to sort of have a cigarette. And I'm just sort of floating through this sort of period, just trying to march forward in a positive way. And having the support around again was huge, and to open up. So again, that sort of thing. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for sort of talking about these things now. I mean, I did keep it secret for a long while, but just seeing what happened when I did sort of talk and the positive steps I was able to make with that help was huge. But yeah, so we got with these boots now. We drove on further down the lane and pulled up at the base of Blencathra, and he was going to march me up there. So for those that know the Fells, the Lake District, it was one of the larger ones, just as you head towards Keswick from sort of Penrith, and yeah, it was a real baptism of fire, shall we say. So I was basically frog marched up there, sort of.
How did it go? How did you feel after that?
Well, I was blowing out my arse, if I'm honest. Just sort of marched up. Yeah, I remember just sort of staring at my feet, just one after the other, heading up the way, and yeah, it was just pushed on. I mean, it can't have been particularly fast or any sort of that point. No. It can't have been. I don't think it was particularly enjoyable. I mean,
stopping for Harrison breaks.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, but then again, a few weeks prior, I'd been stopping for fag breaks, sort of thing. So it's hard to really imagine that the complete difference in that short period of time that really led on to something much more.
Well, at least with exercise and stuff, you get a reward, you feel good. Whereas I feel like fags and alcohol, there's no real reward, you just want more.
Yeah, huge. I mean, I think in both. I mean, I think addictive tendencies can definitely sort of format themselves that way, and I think it is that endorphin hit you're looking for. I mean,
I suppose it's like trying to get addicted to good things.
Well, absolutely, that's what I'm going in for. I mean, I think ultimately all we want to be is happy, and I think we try and get these sort of endorphin, dopamine hits from somewhere, whether it's sort of alcohol, whether it's fags, whether it's adrenaline seeking, or whether it's various moments like exercise, and I think. Again, reaching that sort of summit point and that sort of hit of knowing that sense of achievement, as well as your body sort of, almost singing out to you in terms of, yes, I'm loving this exercise. It's a much more long-winded period of endorphin hit than you would do from alcohol and cigarettes sort of thing. So, and you certainly don't have that come down either.
No.
apart from the heading down the mountainside with the screaming knees, maybe.
Well, it's a sense of achievement which you don't get with bad addictions.
No, exactly. But I mean, again, I think it was about that, trying to replace those vices with something more positive for me, and that was very much initially in the early days. Because alcohol just filled. I mean, it was literally my existence from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night. So it's a long period in your day to replace all of a sudden.
But so many people get sucked into that, don't they? It's such a common thing for people to become dependent on.
Yeah.
Even not necessarily being an alcoholic, but just drinking out of habit.
Absolutely.
Just because you've got some in. Oh, I'll drink these.
Yeah.
And then you get more in, and you just keep doing it. And some people don't even realise.
Almost ingrained in the culture in this country.
Yeah.
And again, during the point that we just had in the lockdown sort of thing, I mean, there'd be a lot of people who, again, it's the whole 5 o'clock somewhere sort of thing. You sat at home, it's much more accessible. Again, those you probably would never even admit to even having a problem or sort of things. And I don't think it's generally the amounts.
People over the edge.
I think so, yeah. And likewise, those who maybe were living a life like I previously was, I can't imagine how I'd have got through that period with all of a sudden almost having your supply cut off overnight. Even the supermarkets are out of stock and all sorts. I mean,
that's true.
A lot of people were almost made to go cold turkey. by losing their supply. It was, yeah, honestly, I think it's, for me, it's never the quantity of stuff. I think it's very much, if it's affecting your life, then it's too much. If that's one glass a night, or if that's, 2 bottles of wine a night.
Or the fact that you're doing it at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So I never think it's a case of, right, oh, well, you don't drink as much as I do. That means I'm more of a, it's more of a problem for me, unless it's for you. I don't think that's the thing. I think each to their own on that front. And I'm certainly not anti-alcohol either. It's just something I've come to terms with the fact that it's no longer got a place in my life.
Yeah. It doesn't work for some people.
A change for me. Yeah, exactly. So.
So what happened? How long did that go on for before you sort of made some more changes then, or what was the next step of your journey?
So this was literally the first 2 weeks after coming back, sort of this up to Bleak. So again, it was just all over the place.
It's more like keeping yourself occupied, so you didn't start like thinking about the past, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of, again, it was just trying to push forward for redemption completely. It was trying not to be this person I'd become, trying to win back that sort of ex-love, if you like, and also trying to sort of become this better person for myself. And yeah, I mean, and again, so Blencathra was 2 weeks in. Upon reaching that sort of summit, my friend turned to me and didn't even really let me grab a breath and sort of went, right, we're doing Helvellyn next week.
Wow.
So again, those who haven't done there, it's 950 metres, third highest one in England. So a week later, same story again. It was like a glorious hot day, marching up Helvellyn from the Filmier side. And just getting to the top at there. And again, as you said, that sense of achievement, looking across on sort of the tar and the edges below, it just really sparked what felt like a new addiction in me at this time. It just felt as if, this was something, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the whole feeling of struggle as well. Going up there, you have to earn it.
That's
you
where the reward comes
top.
from, doesn't
exactly.
it? The struggle to get up there, and then you get there and you're like, oh, it was worth it. That's usually what you...
So for me as well, it seemed to quite fit in terms of this physical struggle I'd had in my own life as well. That sort of, it's like a physical manifestation of what I'd been through. So that uphill struggle to the top, that redemption, that view that you don't always get, I guess, in this northern part of the world, but the view from the top looking below, I mean, it was just spectacular. And that was really the start of really this new passion for hiking and heading on. So a week later, Scarfell Pike, then it was few over the Wainwrights. I headed down to sort of Snowdonia for Snowdon, up to Ben Nevis. And by this point, I'd even started running as well. So I was still gymming, I was hiking. It was a completely different lifestyle. And this was all in sort of the first sort of 4, 5, 6 months of coming back from York. So again, peers that were looking in from that side that I still kept in touch with from York, all of a sudden seeing one person who was borderline asleep on the end of the bar every night. So all of a sudden,
Mr. Active.
Where's he today? He's running along the tops of Helvellyn. It was just, honestly, it must have been, I mean, it was a big, huge change for me. It was like leaving this sort of, what was 6 months felt like years,
It's like
years
a life
back,
swap.
But absolutely.
It's like you've swapped places with some guy. You live in somebody else's completely different life.
But I was just so determined for change at this point, I guess, to sort of right my wrongs, if you like, and sort of to do this redemption. I mean, through that sort of addiction, I'd completely destroyed sort of that sort of relationship of mine in York, and it just was something that really ate away at me. Just something I didn't want to be that person anymore at all. And
have you been back to York?
I have, yeah. I held it for quite a while. It held obviously quite an emotional significance to head back. And whilst I still made a lot of contact with a lot of people there, it was something that I had to wait until I was ready. So I don't think I returned for after a year really. But even so, when I did return to York, walking around sort of my old haunts and walking around the city, now sober, looking through it for new eyes now, it felt very familiar, but it also felt very distant. It no longer felt like home for me. I love seeing everyone again that sort of way, but it was almost like their lives hadn't moved on. They're just the
same.
They were in the same
they
places.
Must have commented on the difference in
the same jobs. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's often that thing, isn't it? I think yourself, you see yourself every day. You don't often see the sort of the changes as they are, unless they are quite dramatic. But for someone that's going from 1 minute seeing you that way to next minute, from.
Well, this is one of the things. So what were you at your heaviest?
So over 22 stone I was at the time. So
Jesus.
It was.
What are you now?
Well, after lockdown, I'm not quite as good as I was just then. But, but I got down to about 15 stone by the time I returned to York. So it was, and that was in a year. So it was
7 stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
What is that in pounds?
15 stone is 210. 22 stone is.
I'm just thinking we've got a lot of non-UK listeners
who
are like, what, this is British and they're stupid stones.
22 stone is about just over £300, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
There we are.
So I can compare that to some like UFC people, the heavyweights.
That's the one when they get announced when they come in. Yeah.
Wow.
In the red
£300.
corner.
That is big. But you are tall, so
I'm 6'2". Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure your American equivalent for those measurements, but I mean, I've always carried it quite well. I'm quite a broad sort of figure as well, but it was very much,
That's incredible.
you know,
How long did that take then?
well, this is over the first sort of year, as you say. So from that point, so
You didn't lose 7 stone in a year.
yeah. So it's
Wow.
It's honestly, I mean, the look back from then. I mean, we're talking at this point, and I've done the hiking side of things. I mean, that in itself is quite a big calorific output, sort of hiking up some of these fells, heading up there. Then I'd taken up sort of running. You know,
Yeah.
initially, I mean, I couldn't run a bath at first.
No,
And
yeah.
someone suggested to me, let's go running. I was like, no, I'm all up for this change, but this is a step too
Yeah.
far now.